Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Tech Motoring. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about our upcoming road trip in this 2017 Hyundai Ioniq EV, and we're going to be discussing why I decided to buy a Mustang Mach-E. So hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. We're going to be right back. Alright everybody, welcome back. Well, like I was saying before, we are going on a road trip and we are taking this 2017 Hyundai Ioniq EV with the 28 kilowatt hour usable battery. Now, this EV has a very small battery compared to a lot of other cars out there, and it takes, well, you know, a long time to go a long distance. So we are actually going to be testing this car, putting it through its paces, and seeing how it does on a long road trip. Now, our road trip is going from here in South Carolina all the way up the coast to North New Jersey. So it is about 700 miles from here to there one way, and we are going to be doing that trip then again back the following week. And we're going to see how this car actually can do in that type of environment. Is it capable of doing these 100-mile stretches, stopping, charging, back in the car, 100-mile stretches, stopping, charging, back in the car, and so on and so forth. And it is going to take roughly 10 charges to get from here up to New Jersey comfortably. We could probably do it in more like 7 or 8. However, just due to the limitations of EV charging stations up and down the East Coast, but it will probably be more comfortable for us to stop somewhere a little bit less than 100 miles on each of these stops, as opposed to trying to stretch it out a little bit too far, because then we're going to end up having to slow down, and then it's going to be a little bit more complicated of a drive, and probably overall taking longer, as opposed to making short charging sessions every once in a while. But anyway, we're going to be putting this car through its paces, and we are going to be videoing that whole trip all the way up and all the way back to see how this car performs. And, you know, I'm really excited about this, and I can't wait to actually see how the car actually does. And this is going to be the first time road tripping in an EV for me. And this is going to be new. You know, we don't typically charge it too much on public stations. We've never DC fast charged this car ever. It's pretty much always been on, you know, this charger here, our level 2 Electrify America charger that you may have seen videos on as well. But we've actually never DC fast charged this car ever. So hopefully we don't have a problem with that. Hopefully it works perfectly fine. And when we get to our first charger, hopefully we won't have any problems. But we are all going to be jumping in this with both feet and hoping for the best. But honestly, I think everything's going to be great. This car has been super reliable since we bought it back in November. And if you haven't seen the video of when I first got the car and had first impressions of it, you could take a look at that video, you know, right up here. And that'll actually bring you to that video directly. And by the time you watch this video, we're gonna already be on our way up to New Jersey. So hopefully everything went perfectly fine. And if you are seeing this, it most likely means that we actually did make it. Because if not, I'm probably going to end up pulling the video down before. So anyway, so now that we went over that, we're going to talk about the next thing on the list, which is the Mustang Mach-E that I just ordered. And I'm hoping to have sometime early next year, probably January or February. And what is the reason behind this? Now, you probably remember that I did a video last year that went over me buying a electric pickup truck, or at least pre-ordering one, and I ended up going with the Tesla Cybertruck. Now, like I had mentioned in that video, we were pretty much buying that vehicle to be our, you know, tripper car, or tripper truck, I should say, to, you know, take longer trips on. The easiness of the Tesla supercharger network makes that really simple as well. So with that being said, why did I end up buying another electric vehicle? Specifically, why did I end up buying the Mustang Mach-E? Now, for some of you that maybe already have a Tesla Cybertruck pre-ordered, or maybe followed it since they released the pre-orders where you can actually get the truck reserved for you, you may have noticed that they originally were planning on getting the first batch of those trucks out this year. And even though that is still a possibility, the chances of that happening are slim to none. And the ones that they're going to be releasing first are the higher end, more expensive, dual motor, tri-motor versions of the truck. Not so much the single motor that I had pre-ordered, which they projected was going to be out the end of next year. And on top of that, I ordered so late that my truck's probably not going to get here for at least a few more years after that. So if I were to take a guess, I would say we're probably not going to see that truck till the end of 2024, possibly even 2025. But that wasn't the only decision that made me want to get another EV. Really, the biggest thing is the used car market right now is tremendously high, mainly due to the chip shortage that you may have heard of on the news, where a lot of car manufacturers are struggling to build new cars with these computer chips in them because of the chip shortage. And a lot of dealerships don't even have cars to sell at this point, or very minimum inventory to sell. And at that point, this has driven the used car market up so high that people are getting very good money for used vehicles, even vehicles that are, 8 to 9 years old, still bringing in a good amount of money for an older vehicle. And that's when I decided to take a look at how much that is worth right there, that Mazda CX-5. Now, you may know that I have 3 vehicles in this household. The one right behind me, the Ioniq, obviously, the CX-5 that you see outside, and of course this orange Corvette that you can barely see the fender of. And this was going to be a decision that I was either going to have to get rid of one of these vehicles in order to get the Cybertruck, and I was in between trying to figure out which one of these vehicles I was going to have to trade in for the Cybertruck, which was possibly going to be this Corvette. But then I decided that this car right here, this Mazda, is worth so much money right now that it was almost silly for me to not jump onto this opportunity. And I decided to do a little research and see how much that those were going for, and couldn't believe how much that used cars were getting right now, specifically crossover SUV style vehicles. And it was about 6,000 or 7,000 more than I had anticipated it being. And at that point, I decided, well, you know what? Let me look into another EV. And if I'm going to look into another EV, I'm going to get one that's going to replace the vehicle that I want to trade in. And since that is a mid-size crossover vehicle, I decided that I was going to replace it with something similar. And there's not many EVs on the market nowadays that are crossovers. Like the Ioniq here, this is a hatchback, so it's not quite a crossover. But I'm looking for something that's more crossover-y, with a little bit more interior room and space, and is a little bit more comfortable to drive on longer trips, similar to that Mazda. And so there was a couple options out there that I decided to narrow it down to. One was the Volkswagen ID.4, which I thought about quickly, and then I realized, not really for me. The Volkswagen ID.4 is very, basic and very designed to blend in. It's very difficult to, see the difference between an ID.4 and, another Volkswagen crossover product that they have. And I didn't want something that was going to blend in and say that, hey, look, I look just like a nice car. So I decided to look a little further, and I came across the Mustang Mach-E, and as much as I agree with a lot of people out there, it really shouldn't have the Mustang name. It really should just be called the Mach-E, period. I decided to look into it and see, what features you get with it, the size of the vehicle, what kind of configurations you can get. And I ended up deciding to go with the Mustang Mach-E. And I ended up going with the premium trim and just the basic rear-wheel drive with the standard battery. And that is going to be a perfect daily driver for me, but it's also going to be a great car for some of these longer road trips that we are anticipating in the future. And that'll be a lot easier than trying to road trip this car, since we wouldn't have to stop near as often. And that's why I decided to go with the Mustang Mach-E. So really excited, really happy. Can't wait to get the car in January, hopefully maybe February, depending on the chip shortage and how things pan out with that. In the meantime, this will be gone by the time you see this video, the CX-5 here. I did end up selling that, and it was a perfect storm with the timing of used vehicle prices, that being in such perfect shape, and the price I was able to get for it, and gradually transferring this household over to a full EV household. And like I was saying, like right now we have the Ioniq, the Corvette, and that Mazda CX-5, and soon that CX-5 will be gone, and it'll just be the Hyundai, the Mach-E, and then the Corvette for the weekend fun. And I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited for that. We're gonna have a lot of fun with these cars. Obviously, I'm gonna do a lot of videos on the Mach-E when I get it, and the Corvette will be sticking around for at least a few more years, or at least until the Cybertruck is ready. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments down below. I'd love to answer anything that you may have, or I'd love to hear some feedback that you may have as well. And of course, if you don't already, please subscribe to this channel. You could just hit that button. It's like right down there, right there. There's a little subscribe button. It's in red, and click on that. That is the best way to support this channel. Of course, thumbs up, hit the like below this video as well. Check out our website, techmotoring.com. You can check us out on Twitter at techmotoring as well, and facebook.com/techmotoring. Make sure you follow us on all those social media accounts. But anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you very much for watching. And remember, welcome to the future, and welcome to Tech Motoring. And we will see you on the next episode.